So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the 4 guidelines.
Yeah.
Those 4 guidelines are how a naturally slim person eats.
Yeah.
So a naturally slim person doesn't have someone saying to them, you can only eat so many calories, or you can only eat so much lettuce, and you must eat so much potatoes. No, they're not telling them that. They just instinctively eat according to their body's needs. And that's what you need to do to become a naturally slim person, because you don't want to have to go somewhere for the rest of your life to have someone to tell you how to eat to keep your weight loss. So when you follow these 4 guidelines, we guarantee that you'll lose weight. That's all you've got to do.
Yeah.
We know it works because 10 years ago, when James and I developed the programme, I was a size 18. I lost 3.5 stone by following this programme, by following these guidelines, and I've never put any of the weight back on, and that was 10 years ago. And there's nothing special about me, I just know how to do it. So it's a bit like a recipe. The 4 guidelines there are your recipe for weight loss. So if you came along to my house for tea, and I wouldn't suggest it because I'm not the best cook in the world, but if you came along to my house for tea and I'd made a lovely cake and you said, Sue, I want to make that cake at home, how do I make it? Then I'd say you get a pound of flour, pound of raisins, pint of milk, and you cook it in the oven at this temperature. And if you did all those things in those exact amounts and that exact temperature, you'd get exactly the same cake as me, yeah?
Yeah.
But if you added a bit more flour in, left a few raisins out, cooked it at a different temperature, you'd either get a rock hard lump or a horrible sloppy mess.
Yeah.
But either way, you wouldn't get the same results as if you'd followed my recipe exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same with this. Don't add anything else in, don't leave any bits out, just do exactly what it says on the sheet.
Yeah.
So guideline number 1 says eat whatever you want. And it's important that you eat whatever you want, but not whatever you can.
Okay.
Because you can eat anything at all if it's not nailed down. But you want to be slim, you want to be fit, you want to be healthy.
Yeah.
So if you're honest with yourself, you want to eat food that is going to take you closer to that goal of being slim, fit and healthy. So just when you're starting off, you ask yourself, before you eat anything at all, do I really want to eat this now? It's not, can I have it, or is it okay to have it? It's, do I really want this now? And more importantly, do I want the consequences of eating this now?
Yeah.
Okay? So once you've asked yourself that, if it's something that you know isn't going to take you closer to your goal at this moment in time, then you truly don't want to eat it, do you?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to ask me about any of that before I move on?
No, and I suppose for me, the thing to get my head around is actually knowing what the consequences are if you do have that extra bit of cake.
If you eat something that is going to contribute to making you slimmer and fitter, healthier, say vegetables for example, you imagine how that would make your body feel, because you know it's good for you, you know it's going to make you feel vital, it's going to make you energised. Or you can think about, I don't know, just say for example a donut, because that used to be my favourite. It's not, absolutely not anymore, but it used to be. I thought it was, believed it was my favourite to eat jam donuts. I could eat a box of 10, no problem at all. Do I really want what that does to my body? Is having that fatty, sugary thing going to make me feel energised? Is it going to make my body work properly? Or is it just going to make me feel a bit sluggish? Is it going to put some fat on somewhere I don't want it?
Yeah.
And in which case, I don't want to eat that right now. I might want it tomorrow. I might want it another day. You know, I might not be too bothered another day. But just keep in the moment. Keep at the time you're asking yourself, do I really want to eat this now? Not I can't have it, but do I want it? Okay. All right? Now, it sounds a lot of questioning to be doing before we've gone any further, but it takes seconds. And you gradually, it becomes your habit to be drawn to the naturally more healthy food and make the natural, more healthy choice without feeling deprived at all. Yeah. All right? So eat whatever you want, but not whatever you can. Guideline number 2 says eat when you are physically hungry, every time you're physically hungry, but only when you're physically hungry. Now, a lot of people don't recognise physical hunger. They've been programmed out of recognising when they're physically hungry. They've not been given the opportunity to recognise when they're physically hungry, or they eat because you must have breakfast at 8 o'clock, you must have lunch at 12:30, you must have dinner at 6, and that's those times, and you must have that. And regardless, if they don't ask themselves, am I hungry? They just, oh, it's 8 o'clock, I have to have my breakfast, or it's 10:15, I must have my Kit Kat. All right, because that's their habit of what they're doing. So initially, you let go of that, and you just eat when you're physically hungry. So if you wake up in the morning and you don't think you're hungry, then wait until you think you are. Now, people say, oh, but you must have breakfast. Yes, you must have breakfast, but breakfast is the first meal you have after you've woken up when you feel hungry, not the minute you open your eyes whether you're hungry or not.
Yeah.
Okay? Then throughout the day, if you're physically hungry, you eat. If it's just because it's 12 o'clock and you're not hungry, you wouldn't. If you think you're hungry but you're not sure, have a glass of water. If the feeling goes away, you weren't hungry, you were thirsty. The majority of people in the UK are dehydrated most of the time because most of us, as soon as we think we're hungry, we have something to eat, when in actual fact the thirst signal and hunger signal are almost identical. So you've confused thirst and hunger, and you've eaten even though really you were thirsty. So by having a drink every time you even think you're hungry, and it doesn't have to be gallons or pints or 2 litres, it just means a little bit of water. I have a glass, it's around about this big, and I'll have a small glass like that. If you think you're hungry, small glass of water, you're doing 2 things. Each time you have that glass of water and the feeling goes away, that's one more time you're only having water instead of having something to eat. So you're reducing the quantity of food that you would have eaten normally. You're also hydrating your body. So you're washing out toxins, you're feeling physically fitter, your hair looks better, your skin looks better, everything's improved. A lot of people find headaches and things like that get less. So you're improving your quality of life all round. Now most people say, oh, but I don't like water. Again, that's a belief that they don't like water. There's suggestion in the hypnotherapy, which I'll come round to, we'll talk about in a minute, to help you reinforce that liking for water. But I
like water.
That's good. But for anybody that doesn't, yes, it's okay to put a little bit of cordial or something in it. You don't want to put something that's laden with a load of sugar because that's got its own problems. But just small amounts of water. I wouldn't be very keen on drinking large pint glasses of water. I'm not keen on drinking large pint glasses of anything unless it's a cup of tea. But I don't mind at all treating myself to a small glass of water every time I think I'm hungry. And it's now become my habit. Do you have an iPhone or a smartphone?
Yeah.
We have an app available on the iPhone with a water reminder on it that you can set that beeps as often as you set it to throughout the day, and you can tick off the glasses of water. Okay. It's also got a photo diary on, so you can photograph everything you eat, and we'll come on, as we work through the process, we'll come on to why it's really useful to do that. And all the hypnosis sessions are available on the iPhone app or the Android app, or if you don't have that facility, we've got CDs if you want the hypnosis, but you don't have to have it. It's just available there if you want it to help you.
Okay.
So that's guideline number 2, eating when you're physically hungry. So if it's always been your habit to have a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock in the morning and a Kit Kat, that's not hunger, that's habit. There's no way every morning at 11 o'clock you're always hungry and you always want a Kit Kat. All right? So it's just becoming really aware of how you're eating by habit rather than what your body really needs.
Right.
Gradually, it just becomes natural to you. Now, guideline number 3 says eat slowly and consciously and concentrate on every mouthful. Now, most people eat probably, we need to slow their eating speed down to around about 25% of what it is now. We all eat very fast. We all lead busy lives. We'd like to eat quickly. Some of us come from big families where if we didn't eat quickly, our brother pinched our dinner. Some of us were told, you know, you have to eat quickly, we need to get cleared away. There are all sorts of reasons why you might have learnt to eat quickly, but it's really, really important that you slow your eating speed right down, because again, you'll eat past when you're no longer hungry. Because guideline number 4 is stop eating when you are no longer hungry, and that's really important that you use that language to yourself. You ask yourself, am I still hungry after every mouthful? And a lot of people who follow our program say what they really become aware of is how they'll shovel a forkful of food in before they've even finished what's already in their mouth without even thinking about it. Mm. So you finish what's in your mouth before you have another forkful. A really good way to slowly eat and speak down is to put your knife and fork down in between mouthfuls. Or, and I know it's really bad table manners, and if you've got children, probably not the wisest thing to do, but I live on my own, so it's okay. I just eat with a fork. And then if I've got to cut stuff up with a fork, it takes a long time. But by slowing my eating speed down, I register when I am no longer hungry. Okay? And it's really, really important. I can't stress enough that you do ask yourself, am I still hungry? Not am I full? Because you've come to associate that full up feeling with that's the signal to stop eating.
Yeah.
When you've been trained out of the signal no longer hungry. And there's quite a big difference in the amount you can eat between no longer hungry and full. And everything you eat in between no longer hungry and full is turned into fat, because it's more than you need at that time. You don't need to be fearful that you haven't eaten enough when you're first learning how to do this, because the guidelines say if you are physically hungry, you should eat. So if you've not eaten enough and you've thought, well, I'm not sure if I'm hungry or not anymore, right, I'll stop eating now, and an hour or so later you find, oh, I feel hungry again. As long as you have had a glass of water and checked that you are actually physically hungry, you take the food, it is what you really want to eat, take that food, sit down with it and focus on it, that's okay. But what you'll probably find is you only want 1 or 2 mouthfuls and then you'll be satisfied again. But it's not about getting it right first time, it's about learning what's right for you. And for the first week that you do this, don't cut your portion size down at all from what you've already got at the moment. Dish up the same portion size, but really, really concentrate on the guidelines. Okay. When you concentrate on the guidelines, most people, not everyone, but most people find that they leave anywhere between quarter to a half the meal on their plate. That's how much food they were eating between no longer hungry and full. That's how much food they were overeating by. Now, when you've been doing it for a week, you'll find over time around about the right size portion for you. So notice I'm not saying cut your portion size in half. I'm not saying put a quarter of it aside to start off with. I'm saying you decide what is round about the right size portion for you, and then you dish that smaller portion size up on a smaller plate and start the process again. Okay. So don't think because you've got that portion size down to the smaller plate that that's the right portion size. It's still a work in progress because you're programmed to expect bigger food, bigger plates of food. Yeah. If you don't put enough food on the plate, if you put up a small amount of food on a big plate, it looks as though there's something missing. Yeah. So you feel as though that's not enough food. When you put it on the smaller plate and start again, you might find there's still a little bit more that you don't need. Okay? Yeah. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to ask me about any of that?
No.